Well, welcome everybody once again to Covid-19 Wellness Series that is put together by two amazing organizations, Serve Canada in association with ARRA Arts and in support of an amazing healthcare organization called Trillium Health Partners and Trillium Health Partners Foundation, who have three hospitals. There's the Credit Valley Hospital in Mississauga, as well as the Mississauga Hospital, and then the Queensway Hospital in Toronto. So two great organizations doing great work in keeping you informed, keeping all of us informed as we go through this crazy global health crisis, and all in support also for our health, our personal well-being, as well as for Trillium. So again, kudos to Serve Canada and to ARRA Arts for coming up with this great initiative. There's a series of 10 episodes that are presented over the course of time, and just to talk about various different things, whether it's mental health, whether it's diet, whether it's anything really, yoga, all that stuff. So I think it's absolutely terrific. And today we have a very special guest who we're going to chat with, and I'm going to have our founder and my wonderful co-host talk about who our guest is, talk a little bit about the series and the initiative. Please welcome the founder of ARRA Arts, as well as my co-host, Anu Srivastava.
Thank you, Jake. Welcome everyone. And foremost at the outset, I'm going to bring the greetings from my elected officials for supporting and endorsing the COVID-19 Wellness Series.
Hello, I'm Meena Tangri, your Member of Provincial Parliament in Mississauga-Streetsville. On behalf of the Province of Ontario, I would like to recognise Serve Canada and ARRA Arts for hosting the COVID-19 Wellness Series of Workshops in collaboration with the Trillium Health Partners. The COVID-19 pandemic has impacted so many of us with feelings of anxiety, depression and uncertainty, but it is important to know that help in various forms is available for all of us in our community. The 10 virtual workshops by Serve Canada and ARRA Arts talk about how to care for our mental health or wellness and other common health issues during the pandemic. We are thankful to Mississauga residents like Anu Srivastava who have taken the initiative to help our vulnerable populations through the COVID-19 Wellness Series. I would like to thank all of you for physically distancing and doing your part to combat COVID-19 and ask that you continue to please stay safe.
Mayor Bonnie Crombie here from the great city of Mississauga, sending my best wishes to all the organizers and participants attending the COVID-19 Wellness Series hosted by Serve Canada and ARRA Arts in collaboration with Trillium Health Partners. COVID-19 pandemic has brought so many uncertainties to our lives and has disrupted our way of living. It's okay to not feel okay during these uncertain times. It's important to stay active and stay connected mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. The COVID-19 Wellness Series is an opportunity for people to de-stress and take care of their mental health and well-being. By showing up at today's session, you are making your mental health a priority, and you should be very proud of yourself. Brighter days are ahead. In the meantime, stay healthy and stay safe.
Jake, you're so right. 8 months ago, when we were hit with the COVID pandemic, no one had any idea that this was going to last this long. Sometime into the summer months, Serve Canada and ARRA Arts, they thought like this is not going to end, and we really needed to do something for the benefit of our community, for the benefit of all of us, for our own sanity, to come up with something that would be really beneficial for all our viewers, for all our people, for all our loved ones. And so Serve Canada, which is a health and wellness organization, and ARRA Arts, which is a social wellness organization, they came up with the COVID-19 Wellness Series, which is a series of 10 virtual workshops. And the idea behind this was to bring different wellness experts, different health professionals, different allied professionals, and all together come up with the common questions and answers and advice that is actually needed for each one of us. So these 10 virtual online series is something that is going to highlight and help us all cope through these crazy times and bring us give us some light into the COVID-19 coping strategies. Today, I'm delighted to welcome a registered dietitian, Sana Motlekar, and who runs a private practice focused on weight management, diabetes education, chronic disease prevention management, and general healthy eating. So we all know that every one of us during this lockdown or being at home, we are thinking, what can we really do to help ourselves come out of this pandemic in our daily eating habits, our nutrition, our food habits? So I'd like to welcome Sana Motlekar, and here is the first question. Can certain foods help with preventing or catching COVID-19?
That's a great question, and I think it's probably the most popular search on Google. Regardless of what Google says, there is no single food, no supplement, or no natural health product that can prevent us from getting COVID. But what you can do, though, you can sort of improve your overall health, overall eating habits, your lifestyle to actually maintain a healthy immune system.
Okay, that's great, Sana. So what I wanted to ask another question is that
Yeah.
everyone, people have it in their minds, like, they want to eat healthy, but really it depends what are the foods that you really buy, because whatever you're going to buy, that's what you're going to cook. So can you just highlight some of the foods that one should really buy during the COVID pandemic?
Yeah, sure. So what we're looking for typically is stocking up on things that have a higher, like a longer shelf life, right? So when you opt for fruits, yes, you can go for like things like apples and oranges. They last a bit longer, but you can also pick up frozen fruits because they're equally nutrient dense. Same thing applies with vegetables. You don't necessarily need to buy fresh veggies. You can totally pick up frozen vegetables. So when you are going for shopping, you kind of want to make sure it's well balanced at the end of the day, that you've got some produce items, you've got some lean proteins, you've got some grains and whole grains. So things like whole grain rice. You can you can pick up whole grain pastas, high fiber breads, tortillas. These are some great whole grain items that you could purchase. And then you can also obviously think about what lean proteins you guys typically eat, right? So it could be things like chicken, it could be fishes, and you can freeze them too, so they don't sort of, spoil that quickly. And typically, I guess what you might also want to do is pick up canned products. Now, with canned products, they tend to be quite high in sodium. So if you are picking up things like lentils or canned beans, chickpeas, buy the ones that are low in sodium or no sodium added. So that's a great way to actually get a quick protein in, healthy carbs into your diet. And it's honestly very cheap too. It's a cheap protein source, but very nutrient dense. Then you want to think about dairy products too. So best to opt for things that are, not flavored. So if you're picking up yogurt, opt for plain yogurt versus flavored yogurt, right? Because we don't need as much sugar unless we're extremely active, which has also been a challenge.
So, Sana, you brought in a good conversation around the frozen foods. If you don't mind answering, how long can you keep the frozen foods, like whatever you buy, let's say fruits and vegetables, and versus, let's say, meat or chicken proteins or stuff like that?
Yeah. So typically, like meats and stuff, you can easily freeze them for 3 months, 3 to 5 months. I would say I prefer personally to use them up within a 3 month period, and then especially with like COVID, I think we do have that time that okay, if we stock up on a little extra protein, that's that we are covered for a month or two, we can then go back and restock. Frozen fruits and vegetables, they last a little longer, so you can have them up to 6 months.
Question as being, I use that all the time, frozen foods. How do you know that if there is a freezer burn in it?
That's a good question. So you want to make sure that it's not right, like you don't see ice developing over your fruits and vegetables, right? So that's like key. And also making sure you're sealing the produce bag properly. If you find that seal is broken, you can also switch it over to like another, like a container, like a obviously something that you can freeze your fruits and vegetables in.
I'm coming to another question, Sana, and that is if somebody, unfortunately, if they get COVID and they are self isolating, then what advice would you really give in terms of the nutrition as to what they should eat?
Right. So, like with COVID, it's more or less like a very extreme flu kind of symptom. So, typically, when we have flu, we don't really feel hungry, our appetite's a little low. But your goal is to actually make sure you're still eating. Maybe you can't eat as much, but try to eat small, regular meals. And then the second most important thing is make sure you're well hydrated. Even if it's warm fluids, that's fine. So, things like soups can be a great option. Again, you could do like a bean soup, just something light that you can tolerate and at the same time eat regularly so that you can at least maintain a healthier immune system or at least help your body to fight this infection.
Sana, you spoke about the immune system, and it's so important generally, and especially now, that we maintain a strong immune system, making sure we get enough rest, making sure we're exercising, and all that stuff. What advice would you give to ensure that we are able to maintain or strengthen our immune
Mm-hmm.
system, especially during these times?
Definitely. To be honest, I think people think that you need to eat one specific food to help your immune system, but our immune system is very complex. So when it's really complex, you kind of need a lot of different nutrients to meet the needs of your immune system, right? So a well balanced, like a really well balanced diet, which is rich in your fruits, your vegetables, lean proteins, complex carbs, right? That is the key to supporting your immune system. Now, another thing to keep in mind is that nutrition is not the only thing that affects your immune system. Stress is a big factor, and it's well researched that how it can weaken your immune system. So I would even focus on strategies around stress management. So things like deep breathing, meditation, whatever works for you, try to incorporate that into your day-to-day routine as well, just so that you can also manage your stress.
Yeah, so true. It's maintaining a strong immune system is beyond just diet. I
Oh,
think the
100%.
walking, the relieving of the stress and all that stuff. You're absolutely right. Sana, I wanted to ask you also. During this time of COVID-19, we're told don't go out as much. You need to do your grocery shopping. Go out, do your grocery shopping, and be limited in your movements
Limited.
outside, right?
Yeah.
So advice would you give us in terms of creating some sort of any sort of grocery shopping tips to ensure
Mhm.
that we are efficient? Because I find myself making a lot of trips.
Yeah, that is something we should all be doing regardless of COVID. So regardless of COVID, we need to be a bit more mindful of, how much we're purchasing too, so that we're not wasting food. And secondly, going in with a plan. So spend some time if you're by yourself, then figure out what type of meals you want to eat. If you are with a family, figure out what sort of meals you guys want to eat for the week, right? Week or two. And then create your list based on that, right? And creating a list doesn't just mean just jotting down a bunch of ingredients. You kind of need to be a little bit, I guess, organized so that you're not jumping from the produce aisle to the dairy aisle to the meat aisle and then coming back to the produce, right? So you kind of want to sort of put your list down in categories. So for example, you can do fruits and veggies, and then write down what you need, write down proteins. So you could put down your meats, fish, whatever you need to pick up. Then you want to write down dairy, things like milk, yogurt, cheese, things like that that you might need to pick up. So organize your list as well. It's not just sort of putting down whatever random things come to mind. So do go in with a plan, because that can even sort of reduce your time at the grocery store itself, right? So I think just having a little bit of planning helps a lot.
It's a very good point, because I that's something that I'm not doing is and I think the fear, Sana, of, oh my God, what if we run out? Buy more. But I'm finding it, because I'm worried that, if I can't go out, I want to make sure I have enough. But then I have too much. And then you're absolutely right. I have, the past several months, I've been throwing away food. The mushrooms have gotten rotten. The pita bread's gone, whatever, right? And I think you just need to, of all times, now is the time to be a bit more organized, actually have lists.
Yeah.
Which my wife tells me, by the way, all the time to do, but now's the time I actually start to listen to her.
Oh boy.
Yeah, and I think that also brings a point, and Sana, that during these past 8 months, I mean, the amount of cooking that has been done in the houses and the homes has been insane. Like, I really don't remember in that many number of years making, breakfast, lunches, and dinners, because the whole
Going back to
family is
basics.
together.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
listen,
back to the basics.
I've learned how to make homemade soup from scratch. I have learned
Amazing.
baking. I have learned a whole bunch of different cooking things, and surprisingly, everybody seems to be happy with my cooking.
That's good.
So because we are cooking so much, Sana, and obviously we are handling a lot of food items and different types of foods, maybe it would be a good idea to kind of walk us through some of the safe food practices that one should follow with the...
So typically, the first thing you want to do is actually starting this, right? So making sure all your counters are cleaned and you washed your hands and dried them. And also trying to wash your hands in between handling raw meats and other foods, right? So you don't want to have like cross contamination. When you sort of are cooking with, say, fruits or vegetables, things like that, you need to definitely wash them off, but you don't really need to use detergents or chemicals or anything like that. You just need good, like clean running water, and just wash off your produce. Now, things you don't want to wash is things like your meats or fishes. So you typically, I think we feel like, oh, we need to run it under like water. But that actually makes it there's a big mess involved with that, because it's literally spreading a lot of bacteria all around your kitchen counters, and things like that. So you kind of just want to cook it to the actual, the recommended safe internal temperature, just to make sure that, you're not sort of, that basically all the bacteria is being killed off. And then secondly, if you are curious about, okay, what temperature should I be cooking my chicken till or fish till, there are some really great resources on canada.ca. So it actually tells you the breakdown of like, okay, these animal proteins, what the internal temperature should be, eggs, if you're cooking with like dairy, how long you need to be cooking it for. So it's actually a great free resource that you could definitely look up.
Actually, it's interesting that you say that, because with a lot of cooking that's happening at home, my children, they actually purchased an internal thermometer, which you can stick into the meats. And then for chicken, it's 165 degrees Fahrenheit or something. And it is so cool. Like
it
now
really
our meats and fishes and everything, they are just perfect. Very nice and moist from inside.
That's awesome.
We bought an instant pot fryer, and we are experiencing it in so many ways, and just loving it.
It's super
air
helpful.
Fryer is another one. That's again the fad of the COVID pandemic, and everyone seems to be using the air fryer.
Oh yes.
Sana, one other thing which is on a lot of people's minds, because we have been home, not able to go out and exercise as much. And obviously, the only thing that you can really do at home is cook and eat and eat. So a lot of people are really struggling in terms of weight gain during
Mm-hmm.
COVID because they are not able to go to the gyms because it's closed, and they're not able to actually do a whole lot of
A lot
exercises
of,
or
yeah.
routine exercises that they could at home, and they're really struggling. So what would you suggest, or what would you advise for people who really need some help in that?
Yeah, honestly, that's we call it the COVID COVID weight, and it can be due to so many reasons. One, you've mentioned that lack of exercise, can't go to the gym, all that. The other part of that is we do tend to depend on food for comfort, or if you're really bored, we reach out for food. If you're watching TV, we sort of mindlessly eat, right? So that's really important to catch yourself in those moments. And if that's a behavior that you feel you've developed over COVID, you need to sort of start back. You need to take a few steps back and sort of make sure that when you're eating a meal, you are eating slowly and you're actually chewing your food well, because that takes a little bit of time for your brain to actually catch up that, okay, you're eating, right? So that's one strategy, is just try to be more mindful when you do eat, like whether it's breakfast, lunch, dinner time. Sit down, don't sit in front of the television to eat. Make sure you are seated at a table, dining table, and that every bite you take, you put your cutlery down, chew your food well, and really enjoy the flavors, right? Like take your time and really, really enjoy it. And that automatically helps you to slow down the whole eating, right? So you may actually experience more satisfaction, which might lead you to actually eating a little bit less. So that's one strategy. The second strategy would be to make sure you're still keeping up with a routine in your day. So just because you're working from home doesn't mean you sort of eat anytime. Try to still keep a routine, because that will help you sort of eat within those like structured timings, and you're not just sort of snacking mindlessly, right? So think about what your snacks are too. So not just picking up a bag of chips and whatnot. Be thoughtful about it. So think, for example, like a fruit with some nuts, or having like yogurt with fruits, right? So have some go-to combinations for yourself and try to sort of use that as like your fallback if you do get hungry in between, right? But I think just being more mindful of your environment as well. So not just having things lying around all over the house, or not eating at the dining table, eating while you're cooking. All these things sort of add up. And especially if you're not moving as much, we don't need as many calories, right, to sustain us. So just be a little bit mindful of that. Now, I know with the weather changing, it's getting cooler, people don't like to end up going out for their walks and things like that. So there are some really great resources online on YouTube. If you just look up, walking from home or 10,000 steps at home, there are some really simple, low impact exercises that you could do at home. And that way, at least you're getting your NEAT in, which is non-exercise activity thermogenesis, which is your day-to-day general movement, which we tend to not get when we're working a desk job. So that could be a good way to sort of just get your body moving, even if it's not like a full-blown exercise. It's still movement.
So true, because it's a mindset that you have
It is a
to
mindset.
be really mindful of, and then just take care. Every time you put food in your mouth, you have to be just cognizant of the fact that, do you really need to? And just being mindful, like you said, and then I think the rest will fall in place.
100%, right?
I was just going to say, Sandan, I keep interrupting both of you, and I apologize. I was just going to say, you said all the things that I did not want to hear, and I have a feeling that my wife is the one who told Anu to ask that question, because you're absolutely right. You're not exercising as much. You're eating, munching. You're doing all of that, and but very, 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 very good points. Um, Now, here's something, a lot of young people, and even, well, all of us, and I'll consider myself young, but, uh, you know, we do a lot of takeout and delivery, right?
Yeah.
Especially when you have Uber Eats and Skip the Dishes and all that
Yep.
stuff. what sort of healthy, and my son is the worst for this, by the way, what sort of tips can you give for healthy eating for takeout and delivery?
Yeah, no, great question. I mean, it's unrealistic to think that we're going to be cooking every single meal. It's nice for, a little bit of a change and taking a break, getting different flavors in. So if you are ordering takeout or delivery, just sort of take a look at the menu and be mindful of certain terms. So things like crunchy in the menu, or things like crispy, battered, breaded, right? Creamy,
Those are all my
cheesy,
favorite things.
right? So these are packed with a lot of calories, lots of fats, right? Instead, we want to opt for things that are cooked in a slightly healthier cooking method. So you want to look out for things like baked. So you might find like baked salmon, right? Like baked, grilled, roasted, steamed, and then looking for tomato-based sauces versus like creamy sauces. And mind you, like it's okay to have that once in a while, not a problem, but you want to be careful how often you're ordering those type of crispy and crunchy and like heavy meals, right? Also, another strategy which I talk a lot about with my clients is if you are ordering in, like, even if it's a pizza, for example, right? Think about what you could add in, right? So instead of being like, oh, I gotta, take out all these things from my diet, think about, okay, what could I add to this? So if you're having, like, say, 2 slices of pizza, think about putting together a quick salad when you're ordering your pizza. So you can at least improve the quality of that meal in general. And plus, what the vegetable does is it adds a lot of volume to your diet. And that's where the satisfaction lies. Because when we eat things like just proteins and carbs, it doesn't necessarily sort of trigger fullness, because it doesn't press against your stomach receptors to sort of let your brain know that, okay, you're full. But what vegetables does, because it's got so much volume and less calories, it's able to sort of press against your stomach receptors, and then it tells your brain that, okay, you're getting full, and then you start producing your the hormone that's related to the fullness, right? So definitely think about making sure that even if you end up eating something creamy or whatever, you still have like a nice bulky bowl of vegetables available for the family to eat.
What great advice. Very, very good advice. Thank you.
My
I want to turn it over
pleasure.
to you.
No, I think this our discussion, but Sana, that has been really wonderful. What great tips and strategies
Thank you.
that you have
My
given.
pleasure.
And we all are at home, and we all need these small, simple tips to follow and to
Exactly.
make sure that we ourselves are healthy and our families and our loved ones are all healthy. No, so thank you so much for that. And I would like to thank Jake Dheer, our moderator, who is very, very active in the community. And he's also in the board of Trillium Health Partners Foundation. And I'm so delighted to have him do the series for us. And lastly, I'd like to thank Y Media and their team, Yudhvir Jaswal, Preet Jaswal, Angad, and Gurpreet Ji. And thank you so much for all the wonderful work that you are doing to make sure that these series are successful and that they are there for each and every one of us to watch and make use of. Thank you.
Thanks, Anu. And just before we wrap up, just want to say, folks, as much as Anu is giving all the thanks, this was really her vision and her concept and her idea to put this 10-part series together on COVID-19 Wellness Series. And of course, the partnership of Serve Canada in association with ARRA Arts and in support of Trillium Health Partners, the mental health unit. If you've been watching, we've interviewed Dr. Daw, who's from the mental health unit, who's the chief of staff, I think, for the mental health unit at Trillium, and a number of his staff members. And there's been so much guidance and advice and insight that's being brought along with whether it's yoga and diet. We just heard from Sana. So many wonderful topics and really very relevant, especially now as we go through this crazy global health crisis. Listen, take use of all this information. Always consult your physician, of course. But thank you for being a part of this series. Thank you to Anu Srivastava for coming with this concept. Folks, at the bottom of your screen, there is an opportunity for you to donate. To Trillium Health Partners, giving back to frontline healthcare workers. If you're able to support them in any way, the donate button is at the bottom. Please do support them. And again, we hope that you join us next time as we continue with this COVID-19 Wellness Series. My name is Jake Dheer, and we've been with my co-host, my amazing friend, Anu Srivastava. Have a wonderful day and be safe.